Do this after intimacy, and he'll crave you for days. What if I told you that the most magnetic, irresistible force you can unleash after a moment of profound intimacy has absolutely nothing to do with him? What if the key to making his soul crave your presence, to making him feel an inexplicable pull back to you for days, weeks, or even longer, resides not in a perfectly timed text message or a seductive strategy, but in an act of radical and silent self-sovereignty? In our modern world, we are conditioned to believe that connection is maintained through constant communication, a relentless exchange of energy that proves we are wanted. After sharing a vulnerable space with a man, a space where bodies and perhaps even fragments of souls have met, a silence that follows can feel like a verdict. It can trigger a primal panic, an echo of ancient wounds related to abandonment and unworthiness that whispers you are being forgotten. The immediate impulse is to do something, to close that terrifying gap of silence, to seek reassurance, to project your consciousness outward to probe his, searching for a sign that you still exist in his mind. But this very impulse, born of fear, is what dilutes your power and dissolves the very mystique that makes a connection truly unforgettable. The woman who understands the deeper currents of human dynamics, the invisible architecture of attraction, knows that the post-intimacy space is a sacred stage. It is not an empty void to be feared, but a potent energetic field where the true nature of your self-worth is revealed. When you frantically reach out, you are not communicating desire, you are transmitting anxiety. Your energy, whether you use words or not, screams of a vacant throne within your own inner world, a desperate need for an external king to come and validate the existence of your kingdom. But the woman who, instead, consciously chooses to do nothing externally, who turns her gaze inward and focuses on tending to her own internal landscape, creates a gravitational field of immense power. She does not play a game of silence. She embodies a state of profound self-possession. It is a quiet declaration that her peace, her wholeness, and her value are not contingent on his next move. This is not an act of coldness or detachment, but an act of supreme self-love. She understands, as the great Stoic philosophers like Seneca taught, that the only domain she truly has control over is her own inner citadel, her mind and her responses. Everything else, including his thoughts and actions, lies in the realm of the indifferent. This shift from external seeking to internal cultivation is what begins the process of true emotional alchemy. He left your physical presence, but the energetic signature you leave behind is one of quiet strength and completeness. While his ego might expect to chase, his deeper self, the unconscious part of him that Carl Jung spent a lifetime mapping, senses something entirely different. It perceives a wholeness, a self-contained universe that is fascinatingly indifferent to its orbit. This creates a psychological vacuum, a question mark that his mind cannot easily resolve. Why doesn't she need me? Why isn't she seeking my validation? In a world where most relationships are built on a frantic dance of mutual codependency, your serene self-sufficiency becomes a hauntingly beautiful anomaly. He is left not with the memory of a needy conquest, but with the lingering resonance of a sovereign presence. This is the first step. You do not chase him. You make yourself, in your dignified stillness, an enigma he feels compelled to return to, not to conquer, but to understand. The craving he develops is not merely for your body, but for the profound sense of peace and authenticity he felt in the presence of someone who is already whole. He begins to crave the feeling of being near a woman who doesn't need to take anything from him, because her own inner kingdom is already flourishing. To truly grasp the magnetic power of your stillness, we must venture into the often uncharted territory of the masculine psyche. From a Jungian perspective, every man carries within him a silent, undeveloped feminine aspect known as the anima. This is the realm of his emotions, his intuition, his capacity for deep connection, and his creativity, qualities often suppressed by societal conditioning that demands he be strong, logical, and invulnerable. When he connects with a woman, he is often unconsciously seeking an external mirror for this hidden part of himself. If the woman he meets is herself operating from a place of neediness and emotional chaos, she merely reflects his own internal confusion back at him, creating a turbulent and ultimately exhausting dynamic. But when he encounters a woman who is deeply anchored in her own essence, who embodies a calm and dignified emotional strength, she becomes something more than a partner. She becomes a safe gateway to his own soul. Your self-possession, your quiet refusal to be drawn into the drama of anxiety and pursuit, presents his unconscious with a stable, luminous image of the very anima he yearns to integrate. Your silence is not empty. It is full. It is full of your self-respect, your hobbies, your passions, your inner peace. He feels this fullness even in your absence. While his conscious mind might be going about his day, his unconscious is processing the encounter. It replays the feeling of being with you, a feeling of being accepted without being clung to, of being desired without being demanded from. This creates a profound cognitive dissonance. The world has taught him that intimacy leads to expectation and obligation, often triggering a flight response rooted in a fear of being emotionally consumed. Yet, you offer a different paradigm entirely. You offer intimacy followed by freedom, a freedom that, paradoxically, makes him feel more connected to you, not less. This is where a Stoic mindset becomes your greatest ally. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the tranquility of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. When the wave of post-intimacy anxiety rises, asking, "Why hasn't he called?" you can meet it with a simple, powerful truth. His actions are not within my control. My emotional response is. You consciously choose to place your focus not on the uncertain outcome, but on the certain virtue of your own self-respect and composure. This practice is not about suppressing your feelings. It is about acknowledging them without being ruled by them. You can feel the flicker of disappointment or the pang of longing, but you house it within your larger inner citadel of strength. You observe the feeling as you would a passing cloud, without letting it become the entire sky. This is the work. And it is this work that makes you not just attractive, but truly formidable. A man, especially one who has navigated years of relationships with women who outsource their emotional well-being to him, feels this difference at a cellular level. He might not have the words for it, but he feels an immense respect for you. He begins to see you not as someone to manage, but as someone to learn from. The craving he develops is for this rare quality of emotional maturity. He craves the way he feels about himself when he is near your energy. He feels calmer, more grounded, and strangely more in touch with the better parts of his own nature. He is not just drawn back to you. He is drawn back to the man he becomes in your presence. If this conversation, this exploration of the unseen world within, is stirring something deep inside you, a feeling of recognition, a quiet yes in your soul, then perhaps this is a space where you belong. This channel is a circle, a place for women who are ready to stop looking for answers outside and start cultivating the kingdom within. If you feel that call, consider joining our circle by subscribing. And I want to create a connection right here, right now, in this moment. In the comments below, share just one word that describes the emotion this topic brings up for you. Is it hope? Is it fear? Is it empowerment? Let's make that invisible energy visible together. Now we must descend into the most crucial and transformative layer of this inner work, the confrontation with the shadow. Carl Jung defined the shadow as everything within ourselves that we have repressed, denied, or are ashamed of. It is the home of our deepest insecurities, our unhealed wounds, and our most primal fears. For many women, the shadow contains a terrifying belief in their own unworthiness, a core wound that says, if someone truly sees me, they will leave me. This is why the silence after intimacy can be so excruciating. It activates this shadow, bringing it roaring to the surface. The desperate need for a text message is not just a need for contact. It is a desperate attempt to push the shadow back into the dark, to prove that the core wound is not true. But the path to true empowerment lies not in running from the shadow, but in turning to face it with courage and compassion. The period of distance after an intimate encounter is not a punishment. It is a sacred crucible for shadow work. When you choose to sit in the silence, to resist the urge to chase, you are creating the space to meet your own demons. You are allowing the feeling of potential rejection to arise, and instead of immediately trying to fix it externally, you are holding it internally. You ask yourself, what part of me is so terrified right now? What old story is this silence confirming? You meet that young, wounded part of yourself not with judgment, but with the unconditional love you were hoping to get from him. You become your own healer. This is a profound act of reparenting and self-reclamation. You are fundamentally rewiring your nervous system, teaching it that you can survive uncertainty, that your worth is not conditional, and that you are your own safe harbor. This inner alchemy, this process of transforming the lead of your fear into the gold of self-knowledge, radiates an energy that is profoundly potent. Simultaneously, and without any effort on your part, your dignified silence forces him to confront his own shadow. A man's shadow often contains his emotional illiteracy, his fear of genuine vulnerability, and a deep-seated emptiness he constantly tries to fill with external distractions, be it work, hobbies, or a series of shallow encounters. When he is met with your self-contained peace instead of the expected drama of pursuit, the mirror is turned back on him. The silence is no longer about you. It becomes about him. He is left alone with his own feelings, and without your anxious energy to react to, he has nowhere to run. He must ask himself, why do I feel this void? What was it about her presence that felt so different, so real? He is pushed, gently but firmly, into a state of self-reflection. Your absence, which is full of your own self-worth, highlights his own internal emptiness. The longing he feels is the call of his own undeveloped soul, beckoning him towards something more authentic than the life he has been living. This shared, unseen journey, where you are both in your separate spaces, doing the deep work of confronting your own shadows, is what forges a bond that transcends the physical. It creates a soul-level recognition, an unspoken understanding that you are both travelers on a path toward greater wholeness. Ultimately, this entire journey culminates in the embodiment of what can be called true emotional sovereignty. The unforgettable woman, the woman whose presence is craved long after she has gone, is not one who has mastered a set of techniques to manipulate a man's desire. She is a woman who has mastered herself. She has walked through the fire of her own shadow work. She has applied the wisdom of the Stoics to build an unshakable inner citadel, and she has fully claimed ownership of her own emotional and spiritual well-being. She is the sovereign queen of her own inner kingdom, and her sense of worth is non-negotiable and internally generated. The craving a man feels for her is a craving for this very sovereignty. In a world of shifting sands, she is solid ground. In a world of emotional chaos, she is a sanctuary of peace. Her value is not something he bestows upon her with his attention. It is a fundamental truth he is fortunate enough to witness. When and if he does return, his return is different. He is not coming back to a woman who has been waiting breathlessly by the phone, her life on hold. He is returning to a woman who has been living her life fully, cultivating her garden, and strengthening her kingdom. He is not coming back to fill a void in her, because there is no void to fill. Instead, he comes back with a sense of reverence, as a traveler on a pilgrimage to a sacred place. He comes back not to possess her, but to be in the presence of her wholeness, hoping some of it will inspire his own. And at this point, the power dynamic has been completely and irrevocably transformed.
The question is no longer, will he choose me? The question becomes, is he worthy of entering my kingdom? You are no longer auditioning for a role in his life. You are casting for a role in yours. You assess him not from a place of need, but from a place of serene discernment.
Does his presence add to your peace? Does his energy align with your values? Does he have the courage to do his own inner work? It is crucial to embrace the Stoic truth that his return is an outcome that is ultimately outside of your control. And that is perfectly okay. The true victory was never his return. The true victory was your transformation. By choosing the path of inner work over the path of external seeking, you have given yourself the greatest gift of all, an unshakable sense of self. You have proven to yourself that you can face the terror of uncertainty and emerge not just intact, but stronger, wiser, and more radiant. Even if one man is not ready or able to make the journey back, you have become a woman who will inevitably attract a partner who is.
You have raised your own energetic frequency, and by the law of resonance, you will draw to you a reality that matches it. The goal was never to make him crave you for days. That is merely a potential byproduct. The true goal was to make you fall so deeply in love with your own sovereign self that anyone else's presence becomes a beautiful addition, not a desperate requirement. That is the ultimate empowerment. That is the secret that lasts a lifetime.
This space we share here is built on the power of our collective stories. Your journey, your struggles, and your moments of breakthrough are part of a larger tapestry that we are weaving together. If you feel safe and seen here, please consider subscribing and becoming a permanent part of our circle. But more than that, I invite you to share a piece of your story in the comments. Tell us about a time you chose to return to yourself instead of chasing someone. What did you discover in the silence? Your story could be the spark of recognition that someone else desperately needs to see today. And tell us, what other deep topics of the heart and soul would you like us to explore together in the future? This is our space. Let's build it with intention and love.